All right. We use that in case, like, you know, if Nick's like being the guy, like the Jamie.
Yep. He can look stuff up. There's
can
a
pull it
spider
up.
literally just fell out of your hand or
Hey,
something.
buddy.
I think it fell out of your mouth.
But yeah, he can look shit up, and then we'll have that plugged into the.
Dude, that's a perfect role for Nick.
Or we can use that zoom in or whatever. Hey, thanks for the coffee.
You're very welcome, pal.
How's this? You look over there. Did you?
I think I look good. I mean, I can't really tell. It's kind of a small screen I'm
Can
looking
you?
at.
Can you? No, I think it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe move this way a little bit and flatten out the arm some in case we got some images going this way. But I think that might mess up.
You want me over here more?
Yeah, because it looks like maybe like when you're looking at me, it's kind of like, you know, like people kind of on the third side looking toward the center. You know what I mean? So
I don't
you're
know.
looking this way, and then I'm looking that way, kind of having a conversation with you. So we're kind of looking across the table, almost looks like.
I'll review the game tape and we'll make adjustments.
Do you like my game tape? By the way, Nick said this was the ugliest thing he's ever seen in his entire life.
Ugly or not, I mean, man, I think the setup is great. I think there's not a thing that I'd complain about.
My homemade lights, so it's too cheap to buy, you know, the lighting systems. Some of them are freaking expensive. $400 for a stupid light with a tripod.
Well, once things get rolling, then you can make the expenses or pay for them.
I think the homemade ones look pretty good. This one's kind of like lobbing a little bit, but
yeah. No, I think it looks great, man. I think that this is phenomenal. I'm proud of you for making it happen. You know, you make things happen. That's a special quality, man. There's guys like me who talk a lot, and there's guys like you who just get stuff done.
I'm the idea guy too. Generally, I do get some things done once I'm geared and passionate about something. Like, and then it's done, and I just like let's move on to something else.
Yeah.
You know, instead of like, that's my problem. I spend a shit ton of money like getting stuff set up, and then I'm like, all right, that's set up. What else can I set up? Like the meditation studio before I even did any sort of advertising. I'm like, let's put a podcast studio in bags. It's set up there for almost a year.
I think it's great. I mean, what else is there? You know, you get to chase your dreams. I mean, isn't that the spice of life?
It's the spice of life. Yeah. You've been chasing dreams. Hey, this is Peter Olson with me today on episode. Did you like legit look at the camera? I don't know if you're supposed to do that in the video podcast. You're supposed to. Hey.
I mean, there's a camera there. You're here. There's the camera there. So
the camera is supposed to blend in with the studio. You know, you're not supposed to notice it. I guess we've had to move them up there a little bit blatant, are they?
Well, and I guess in a perfect world, it would be interactive, and we can interact with each other. But it'd be even better if we're interacting with the people that are watching. So why do we have to pretend like they don't exist? You know,
hi people. Well, right now they really don't exist. So we're just talking to ourselves.
Yeah.
It's so funny. So I started doing videos of my meditations in the morning. They're like 40-minute long videos of me just sitting there on a cushion. But I probably would use some sort of thing like that if I had a space at home to do it, and it would just help me get motivated. So I'm like, what the hell? I'm just gonna I'm sitting here anyhow, right, at the studio. I'll just record them and pop them up there.
Totally.
And so I'm getting like 6 views. You know, there's a couple that have gotten like 16 views.
But that's where it all starts. I mean, I suppose even if you went back,
you're not gonna get any views if you don't put anything up there, right?
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You know, Mr. Beast had a whole bunch of stuff up that nobody watched for a long time before he became Mr. Beast. And
I don't even know who the hell Mr. Beast is.
Well, it's crazy that you're on YouTube and you don't know who Mr. Beast is. But
I'm sorry, Mr. Beast.
It's kind of funny because
Zeke,
you know, my son Ezekiel, he's been making videos on my YouTube channel now, and actually,
you trust him with that?
You know, I do. He's a good kid, and I love the fact that it fosters his imagination, his creativity. It gets him doing something where he's building. Oh, someone turned the water on upstairs.
They wouldn't hear it really. Maybe.
But it gets him doing something where he's building a skill set that I think is great. And he's way.
What are his videos about?
Well, I mean, I would love to play one for you.
We got to wait till Kevin gets here, and then he can pull it up on the
Yeah.
computer and we can pop it on the screen. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it's just shorts, but the fact that he's able to produce them so quickly, if you know anything about like L. Ron Hubbard, I mean, and he's a kind of like a wacky dude, created Scientology, most prolific writer ever, right? So it's not about how great your work is; it's about you just putting work out there, and then it'll get great as you do more.
I think the reason people don't put stuff out there, at least to be honest with you, it's the reason I haven't been putting videos up until now. I finally decided to say, screw it, It's because it's all in your mind. You don't feel like you're good enough. And to be honest with you, one of the most poorly written, so I was an English teacher for many years, right? So I'm always like judging people's writing and everything. Ask Nick when he sends a message to the group, right? Anyhow, one of the most poorly written books, I think you borrowed it one time. Help me out. What the hell is it called? I actually have it here. I've been rereading it up front, Meditation Studio. Anyhow, changed my life. I was like, what? This is so amazing. And it was like, I was judging it through the whole thing.
Which book is it?
I'm gonna have to run up and get it because that's how my memory works. It doesn't, so I'm gonna have to go get it. I lent it to you and I never got it back for like, I don't know. I had to ask you for it. I think it was 6 months to you. Maybe you still have it and I bought a new one actually. I don't know.
Well, I would agree.
For audience, Peter tends to do this. He takes shit and bring it back.
Hey, that's not entirely true. I try to be pretty considerate. You should ask Scott about the awesome sawhorses I got him. That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool, right?
I've been using them too. And they're nice sawhorses. And thank you again for that.
And you can do dips. You can do L-sits.
2 of them are.
You can do all kinds of things.
I've not done any dips or L-sits. I think Ronaldo did try 1 or 2. Still sitting in the garage. They are easy to clean up, but once you have stuff on them, then they're a little bit less.
Right, exactly. Might have been put away, and like I haven't seen them since I bought them. Now I used them for the first couple of days, and then Abby's mom put them somewhere in the garage.
Since you bought them, you haven't used them?
They were so cool. I just wanted to have them. And honestly, I wanted them more for fitness than I wanted them for work.
They are nice to use for work and stuff.
Yeah.
So grab them out of the old fitness. I used this once barrel.
Yeah.
Do you have a big barrel of that?
I've got plenty of stuff. But then I got the stuff.
How many thousands of
thousands of dollars?
Trainers, muscle up trainers do you have?
Yeah, actually still in storage. I think I bought $10,000 worth of pulleys and cables.
Hey, look who showed up here.
Actually,
Kevin, we got a job for you already, buddy.
He's the proud owner of all those muscle up trainers. I should try to buy him back. You ever hear the story of who's the guy that owns Barstool Sports? Dave Portnoy. He sold his company, made a ton of money, and then he got to buy it back for $1. I should buy these muscle up trainers back from Kevin for $1 just to get him out of his storage unit.
Did they come with a business?
Well, I guess we didn't really write anything out, so maybe that's a gray area. No. It's just kind of a handshake.
Okay, gray areas. You got gray areas now.
I think the only thing, I don't know, did we ever write anything out?
Was it 3 or 4 years ago, wasn't this?
When there was something obviously written out when he bought the building.
How long ago was
but
it
he bought the gym from me longer than that. When I went out to chiropractic school in California, I think I was still an owner in the business when I went to, because my whole goal was to float free out there and to like just,
Kevin, we can kind of see you in the corner. You lifted your head up and waved.
Why don't you get on a mic so you can contribute?
I'm gonna have to open the.
We're just having a
computer up for you,
conversation.
so you
This actually,
He needs a second.
I think Kevin, the three of us, I think we could have some really awesome conversations.
I totally agree. And I got to tell you, Kevin, 0.5 was funny. I do have to fix the sound on it. Somebody commented that I can't hear you. I did fix the sound on Nick's because that was kind of an issue. And today I turned our mic volumes up and our headphone volumes down. So we don't have a sound guy. I'm the sound guy. I'm the video guy. I'm the everything guy. So. Yeah. How do you like the setup versus the angled thing, Kevin? The cross, because I squared it out. I feel like this is more comfortable to me because I can lean. Before it was like one arm on the thing, and I didn't know where to put my feet or anything. Yeah, this is nice. I can look at you and converse.
I think it's awesome. But I like to have a positive attitude just in general. So like, I don't know, man. I'm like operating on this higher frequency as of late. So
Hey, welcome to the meditation studio,
Well,
buddy. We got it going on, operating on a higher frequency. So tell me about your high. Wait, before we go any further, I got to get the name of that book, so it's out of our. Hold on, Kevin, and I'm going to load you up here. Pete, keep talking. Tell us a little about yourself.
well, my name's Peter Olson. I used to own the CrossFit gym here in La Crosse. I've done so many different things in my life. Was born in La Crosse, grew up in Alaska, joined the military after high school, graduated from Winona State University with a degree in journalism, deployed overseas to Iraq, came back, actually finished my degree after I returned, took a job with the Border Patrol, became a Border Patrol agent real briefly, decided that wasn't a good fit for me, left that. I was out in San Diego, love San Diego, beautiful area. Came back and took a job as a recruiter with the military, the Army National Guard here in Wisconsin. Did that for a few years, then decided I wanted to open my own CrossFit gym because I had found CrossFit when I came back from deployment over to Iraq. And at the time, there was probably like 4 or 5 CrossFit gyms in the entire country, and then CrossFit just blew up. And I was all about it. And so I made that my focus. Always been passionate about health and wellness, at least as an adult. And yeah, I'm still talking. I'm just going through my life story here.
Oh, well, that's gonna get cut out.
Okay, that's fine. But then after several years doing the CrossFit thing, it's one of the things I'm most excited about moving forward with the insurance business is that I can't wait to get back to teaching and coaching because I think it's something that I'm good at. I think I developed a skill set of teaching. I love movement, and teaching movement was something that I really learned how to do well. And while I would teach different movements today than I did back then, and I would do things a little bit differently, the skill set you learn, it's crazy because I'm always reaching out to influencers. I've gotten in the habit now of trying to comment on people's YouTube channels, reach out to them on Instagram, stuff like that.
So let's back up. I agree. You're always very good at teaching movement. In fact, I went in and I couldn't squat. I don't think I've ever squatted in my life, and you fixed my squat.
Well, it's great because I just flew back from Phoenix 2-3 days ago, and the guys.
Hey, quick question. What did you do in Phoenix? Is there anything fun to do in Phoenix?
Well, I drove my mother and my stepdad down there. They needed a little help on the journey because they've got a home in La Crosse and in Phoenix, and they like to go down there for the winter, like a lot of snowbirds do.
My parents do, yeah.
And, I was able to go down there and help out a little bit, and it was great. I love driving anyways. Used to drive truck. I've driven across country multiple times.
Yeah, how long that truck thing last?
Well... We don't need to focus on that.
Well, we will. We will talk a little bit.
We totally can talk about it because I still have a passion for trucking. And when I drive and I see truckers out there, I have the experience of knowing what it's like to drive truck, and therefore I don't drive like an asshole. When a trucker needs to get over, I know how to communicate with the trucker. There's a lot of people out there that have only viewed life through their one lens. And they don't have a lot of different experiences. Yeah. And
I don't know how many trucks almost ran me off the road on the way back from Michigan.
Well,
snow all over
But you have to ask yourself, if a lot of trucks are almost running you off the road, maybe there's something you could do different.
No, I think it was the wind and the snow and the icy wet road.
So there's nothing you could have done to help prevent that.
Pass faster.
I got you. I like that. At least you've taken ownership,
Yeah. Tried all I could.
Well, I'm just saying, accept the things you cannot change, have the courage to change the things you can, and the wisdom to know the difference, right?
When you see the back of a trailer like blowing like almost off the road, it's time for that truck to pull over and maybe take a break.
Totally. Truckers are all over the place.
I've seen so many truckers like on their side, especially like I-35 going down through Iowa. The winds are so strong there a lot of times of the year, and it just.
But that's why you have
Several
to be
trucks.
extra vigilant when you're around trucks.
Oh, I am.
And when I
I
drive,
put a lot of miles on a vehicle.
I always allow for a ton of room between me and any vehicles in front of me. Even when I drove truck, it's like, what's the point? Like tailgating. I mean, it's one of the most pointless things that anybody could possibly do.
Was that you? I was behind on Highway 16 earlier.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Oh.
I was wondering if you're just trying to tell me something here, like back off or something.
Well, what's the point of tailgating? It only stands to make everyone put everyone in a more dangerous situation. You know, does it actually accomplish anything?
Well, I mean, hopefully it could. And I don't tailgate often, but hopefully it could teach somebody like, okay, this isn't the lane you should be in. You should like move over.
Do you think you're the one that's going to teach them that by riding their ass?
Well, perhaps they might go, oh yeah, maybe I should get over, and then get over. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I guess maybe.
I mean, it's nicer than honking. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's not.
Well,
should I honk?
maybe if you're
Somebody's in
behind.
the left lane, we're gonna get lots of comments, arguments on your side, and arguments on my side on this sucker.
Well, if you're behind a
Like, what do you do when you're behind a car who's in the left lane? They're going, 63 in a 65 mile an hour.
you can always go around on the right if there's room.
No, I'm not sure you could.
What do you mean you're not
A
sure?
lot of times you can't.
Well, if there's room, you can. And if not, I guess just exercise a little bit of patience. It's just not. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I've been practicing that on the cushion.
Yeah, you're the meditation guy.
Yeah.
You're telling me that when you're on the road, you can't just express a little
No,
gratitude.
I'm way
and
better.
Slow down.
I'm way better than what it was.
Listen to a podcast. Then you'll be grateful that you're out there for a
I
little bit
listen to
longer.
several podcasts.
There you go.
So let's get back to you.
What do you want to know? I'm an open book, pal.
You were talking about training, and you want to be go back to being a trainer in a.
I just
But
miss.
in the insurance world, is that what I kind of
Well,
heard?
insurance is very transactional. At least I view it that way. You do get to take care of people, help people, put things in place to take care of their families. So that's cool, right? It's kind of a necessary evil, if you will.
It is.
Especially when it comes to personal lines of insurance. If you own a home or you own a vehicle, you can't drive that vehicle without having insurance, right? So you got to have it. Someone, if you can have an agent that can help guide you through the process, because most people don't know a lot about insurance. But my main focus is life insurance now. But and again,
Did you get certified?
yeah, I'm licensed. I'm licensed in like 10 states right now.
Did you have to get licensed again, or was this all recerted?
No, I never was licensed in life.
In life.
I was licensed in personal lines, but I'm good. That's expired, so I got to get my property and casualty license again, so I can do the auto and home and business umbrella
But
stuff
right now
like
you
that.
got life.
Right now, I got life. Excuse me, and that's going to be my main focus right now is life insurance. But there's a lot of opportunities in insurance to cross sell. If you're helping somebody and you're a good agent and they know, like, and trust you, and you're taking care of them in one realm, why not try to take care of them in other realms as well? Especially if someone's overpaying for their auto policy and they can't justify the expense of a life policy. Well, if you can save them money on the auto policy, now it's almost like you get to subsidize the life policy or get them a life policy for free.
Yeah.
And then that way in the event, shouldn't we be insuring our lives? We insure our vehicles, we insure our homes, but we produce more income than anything. We're our number one asset, but we don't insure that. And I've got a son now. I've got a baby girl on the way. So I think.
Oh, you
about
guys
these
found
things.
out the gender?
Yeah, we found out the gender.
That's like a common thing these days to find out the gender.
Yeah, and it's
Or to celebrate the gender, like in a gender reveal. Like, why is it so celebratory? these
speaking
days?
of gender, actually, it's. Oh, we can't talk about gender.
We'll get canceled.
It is a social construct, right?
Episode 2 or 3 will get canceled.
No, but somebody that I was listening to, and I wish I could credit them, give them proper credit, because I always try to do that. They had made this great analogy. And the analogy when it comes to gender is like flipping a coin. We recognize that there's a head side and a tail side to a coin, but there is always the possibility that you could flip that coin and it could land on its edge. but it's such a rarity that we don't even acknowledge it. And to me, I would say that gender and sex falls into the same kind of it's the same kind of situation. So yes, there are exceptions to the rule, and
When you
everyone
flip a coin 1 billion times, how many times does it land on its edge? Let's try it.
well, I mean, it'd be kind of interesting,
How much
right?
time have you got?
But I'm just saying, you don't recognize it. You know, people don't recognize the edge they don't, they don't give any credence to the fact that the edge even exists. But you know what? It's about time that we start recognizing the edge because,
Probably more of a chance for a nickel to land on its side than a penny.
well, yeah, probably a wooden nickel, right? I bet you
Wooden nickel.
if you flipped wooden nickels, right? Kevin,
We're more like wooden nickels.
you got anything you want to say about this?
Is that like a buffalo nickel?
Hey, Kevin Reynolds has joined us, and I think we have to turn his
Yeah,
mic.
turn his mic on. Get him on.
Is that like a buffalo nickel?
It would be. It absolutely would be a buffalo nickel. I think wooden nickels or buffalo nickels. But anyways, so yes, we found out it's going to be a girl. That's super exciting. I already got a boy, and
When's life going to change for you again?
I mean, life's always changing.
No, it's a
She's due May 23rd.
May 23rd.
Leilani is going to be her name.
Did you know that Ronaldo's brother's daughter is named Leilani?
I had no idea, but I'm excited to hear that because that's now the second person who said like, hey, my kid's middle name's Leilani or whatever. I'd never heard the name before. The deal was I told Abby that if we were going to have a boy, it was going to be up to Zeke and I to name the kid. And if it was a girl, that she got to name her. And
I love the name Leilani.
So-
Leilani.
yeah, the flower child or
Oh,
child
Layla,
of
Layla.
God or
There's
something.
songs already
along
about
those-
her. Layla.
That's Layla.
Yeah,
Not
that's how it.
Leilani.
She's going to be going
Got
as
me
Layla
on
for short.
my knees. No, she's
You know,
gonna do
she's going to be in
Lonnie.
science
She's gonna
class,
go by
first day
Lonnie.
of the science class, and the teacher's going to be like, she's going to be like, it's Layla.
No, it's Leilani's as simple as it can be. To like, if a teacher can't figure out how to say Leilani, then that teacher probably needs to resign.
We had a student, I think her last name was like Klitsky. Every time the first day, like the teacher would be like struggling it, and she would like yell out, "It's just like Anna or whatever her name was." It's just
Well, it's like my son's teacher. I don't know if I should be saying this, but they call her Miss Kathy, and her last name is Fuchs. So it's like
probably good,
third graders, they would
right?
have a field day with that.
Yeah,
Miss Fuchs.
we had a middle school teacher with a Koch last name. It was pronounced Cook.
Wow.
We had a field day with that. First day or two of class.
Man, what were we talking about? There was something that I wanted to talk about. But
Leilani.
let's talk about movement, though, because is that all right? You want to talk about movement?
Yeah. One quick thing about the insurance thing is I'm a former insurance personal lines sales and life insurance sales rep, and it's nice that there are people out there like you with enough patience to deal with that whole realm of the world, because I didn't like it.
Well, I wouldn't
I
say
needed to get out.
Yeah, I wouldn't say
outside.
patience is my strong suit, but I think it's about, nowadays there's so many like tools and systems that you can put in place where you can, and it's not all about making money, it's about helping people, but sometimes people aren't ready to make a decision, and sometimes you can actually play a role in helping them make a decision, and sometimes they're just not ready. And, I should know, I've been a tire kicker a lot of times in my life, and
Well, one of the best systems you can put into place is like somebody to answer the phones and do the basic.
Yeah, but you don't even
basic
have to have
work.
somebody anymore. Now there's AI voice. There's AI voice agents that you can have that can have entire conversations with people, vocally or via text message. And the thing is,
They don't know they're talking to AI.
well, no, here's the thing, because with me, this is how I'm setting mine up, and I'm in the process of setting mine up right now. But I never like it when somebody pretends or somebody acts as if it's a real person, right? But there's a simple solution to that because you can tell when it's not a real person. It's an AI agent that you're talking to. But if you say, hey, I'm Pete Olson's artificial intelligence agent assistant or artificial intelligent assistant, and I'm reaching out to you on behalf of him, you just clear that off the plate right away. And you just acknowledge it. Hey, this is what I am. And it actually presents you in a light where you're actually hip to the times and you're using technology in a way that most people aren't using technology. So I think when you pretend, I think people don't like it when you're inauthentic. And I think that goes for a lot of things. So if you're just upfront about it, you set the right expectations. I think people can appreciate it instead of be like, oh, this fucking AI agent. It's not like.
So your target audience is anyone under the age of 60?
No, right now, primarily I'm focusing on final expense. So my target audience is people that have never put life insurance in place and they're looking like maybe they're dealing with a situation or they're thinking about, taking care of their burial expenses or cremation expenses.
So
they haven't put
late
something
in life.
late in life.
Yeah.
But
so the AI assistant, I'm not sure it's the best thing with these people that are late in life. I mean, I could be wrong. They might like talking to
you could be wrong. But again, it's just a way to use technology to your advantage, I guess. And my goal isn't to only work with final expense clients. My goal is to work with all clients. Like I just put in place a policy for myself and my family. I hope that I'm not near death, but
this could actually be the perfect partnership because you realize like the whole Tsuzen Luckey like idea at the beginning of this podcast thing was to document people's lives who really want to share their stories and perhaps haven't had a chance to in their lives, and then give that to their kin as did it shut off?
No, it's crazy.
As they pass on, because
it's crazy that you said that, because actually, as I was pulling back from Quit Trip, coming back with our coffees from Quit Trip, I was thinking to myself, like, this is such a unique opportunity for me to put some of my thoughts into the world, especially when you got kids, because what if I were to die today or tomorrow and Leilani never knew, anything about her dad or never knew some of his ideas? Like I think it's a great idea. Document when I was at the VA clinic in the hospital in Madison, and I was talking to this great nurse, and she was telling me that she had cancer or whatever. Actually, we were talking about a little bit about life insurance. And it was just like, what do you think about life insurance or whatever? And she's like, well, I can't qualify. I've had cancer and I've come back, battle cancer. And so we started talking about children and legacy and, what are the things that we're doing, for our kids. And she had said that she started an email like diary where she sends her children emails. And this is someone who's stared down the barrel of death, And I thought, like, what a cool thing to do for your kids, because it's one thing to put a financial legacy in place so they're cared for, but it's a whole nother thing to make sure that you're passing along that wisdom, right? I mean, isn't that what it's all about? Is like, how do we pass along wisdom, and
Kevin,
we can
this is bringing up the old Dear Zachary thing, like, documenting the life and then passing that along to the kid.
Well, and we got to talk about religion.
If you haven't seen Dear Zachary, watch it probably on a Saturday midday, and then plan on spending the rest of Saturday and all day Sunday like crying. Like,
is it a movie?
Upset. Yeah.
I've never heard of it.
It's a documentary.
It's a documentary film. Yeah.
It'll mess you up.
Dear Zachary, I'm going to make a note of that. What's it about?
Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of your typical, I guess, your typical crime documentary, but the twists that it takes as far as like the legal system and all the depths, you think you have it figured out. It goes to a certain place where it's really bad, and then it goes off a cliff. And it just
the
goes.
premise is, help me out here.
Okay,
somebody was killed.
What's the name again?
The guy was killed.
Yep.
And the guy is the father of a child whose name is Zachary,
who isn't born yet at this time.
Isn't born yet. And the person who killed Zachary's father is his mother.
Allegedly
his mother.
Right.
Remember the allegedly part.
Well, allegedly killed him.
Oh, allegedly killed.
Because you're innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you know, right.
So this is the grandparents of Zachary, who are the guy that was killed, his parents, kind of navigating the legal system, trying to have visitation with Zachary and deal with how the legal system is treating his mother and balance that whole thing, and trying to, I guess, familiarize Zachary with who his father was, you know, and document kind of things for him as he grew up.
Right. And as we know, the mother still has rights, which is a good thing. But in this case, the mother is also an accused murderer. So now the grandparents, the parents of the dad, have to play get along with an accused murderer of their son.
And
It's pretty.
how did they do? Were they able to?
They were amazing, but it was because they had to play because they wanted visitation and hours.
That's right. They're raising
this
child because mom is in prison, right?
For a while, she's in prison. But they're having, and at any moment, she could say, I want to see him now, or I want this, or I want that. And the legal system's always going to kind of lean her direction because she is the mother. But there's no loophole in there that says, well, if the mother does kill the son, you know what I mean? Like, these aren't built in because she still has all of her parental rights.
Check it out. Just give yourself a weekend to get over it.
How powerful is it that the grandparents are able to compartmentalize things enough to put what's best for the kid first and foremost? I mean, like that.
Right.
That's pretty special, and it doesn't happen enough. I think that's pretty cool and pretty unique, but it also underlines the importance of having some of these plans or things in place. You know, I mean, I know we don't think about it a lot, but like the what if scenarios,
bring it on back.
It's kind of like starting a business, right? Like everything's good on the front end, but if you don't have some contingency kind of plans in place when shit hits the fan, and it always does eventually, or, you know, just when you start talking about money or whatever, I mean, money sometimes can bring out the worst in people, you know. That's why sometimes I guess it's okay if you don't have any, because you don't have to worry about that. But we all want some money, and yeah, it's just good to have plans in place, so that way, especially when it comes to your kids, because what's more important than your kids, right?
Yeah.
Right, Kevin?
Absolutely.
Actually, and this is how good of a guy Kevin is. Well, I was down in Phoenix. Zeke had, like, I don't know, ass to mouth virus or something like that, you know, and he's at home puking and shitting his brains out.
Ass to mouth.
And whatever kids
That's
get.
the medical term.
Yeah. And Abby just reached out to Kevin and asked him to get some electrolyte drinks, and
Abby was in town. You were in Phoenix.
I was in Phoenix.
Abby's at work, and
and she asked Kevin. She hit up Kevin, and
we've all hit up Kevin periodically.
No, I mean, like, the guy is as solid as a rock. You know, I mean, that's, if I had to try to explain who Kevin is, I would say he's one of the most solid guys. You can always rely on him, and he was there.
I think Kevin had to deliver something to an Airbnb guest at one point.
Well, he might be delivering Leilani if he plays his cards right. That'd be something, huh? Kevin in the delivery room.
A special godparent with your gloves on when it comes.
Yeah, we know how close to God Kevin is.
I think I know the answer to this, but I feel like Pete will be watching the entire. Will you watch the whole?
We're going to actually stream it.
We could broadcast it totally.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. You know what? I don't know that I need to watch it, but I've never seen it. I mean, I am plan on cutting the umbilical cord and stuff like that.
You never watched like the PBS special?
I think I had to watch it in school or something like that. You know, it doesn't seem like it's a pleasant thing to watch, but, you know, it's my child, so whatever. I'm not afraid of experiencing it. It's part of life. And, like, when I am sitting on my deathbed and I'm going through my portfolio of life, I would rather that I was there than not there, you know?
Problem is, you're never going to want to go down there again. You'd be like that thing away. Like, it stretches like that. Fuck.
Is that what happened to you?
Oh, Are you going gay? Pete's gonna be going gay. Sorry, Abby, I'm out.
Jeez, you just pulled an Elon Musk there, dude.
That's right.
That's your thumbnail right there.
Right.
Dude, that's hilarious.
Elon Musk. They showed there's another meme that showed like everybody, all the Democratic people that have been ever, in the news in the last 10 years, all with the same pose,
Yeah, but I will say this. When they did the snapshots of a lot of those Democrats, and again, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Christian, I'm not an anything. I'm just me, But Elon Musk, that guy is a world-class troll. I think he did it on purpose, and he knew the optics of it. And I think he's reveling in the fact that it's like he just gets to pull the pin on the grenade and leave it out there for everyone to just gobble.
I never saw it. I've heard of it. Obviously, I heard a lot about it, but I never actually seen the footage of it. Kevin, can you pull it up?
This is the same guy that's always making jokes about 69 and 420 and he's a troll.
Wasn't the reason it's the Model S? It's because 3 wasn't available and S is sexy, or no? Wait,
no.
3...
They say sexy, so he's got a Model S, a Model 3, which is the
Should've
E
been
backwards,
the E, yep.
the X, and the Model Y.
That's what it was.
And again, this is the guy that we're dealing with. So, like in some ways,
I think he's an alien.
Well, in some
I
ways,
said it here, episode 3, Tsuzen Luckey podcast.
He's a
Elon
mega
Musk is an
genius,
alien.
but in other ways, he's like just a big kid, And that's the way that we all are, I guess. So.
Aliens are big kids. What do you think of aliens, Pete? Do they need life insurance?
Honestly, I don't think much about aliens. No.
You're not following that whole
I've opened a couple of them on Twitter, just to see what's going on. But until somebody produces something other than a video of people talking about what could be out there, I just don't have time for it.
The latest one was somebody who was transporting an alien egg.
Yeah, but where's the egg?
Oh, it's on video.
Well, I've yet to see that video. Kevin, pull that video up. I'd like to see this egg.
We got to connect you to the TV over here.
Did they make an omelet out of it?
You're so creative and funny, Pete Olson. That's why I want to have you on the podcast all the time. You're going to be episode 3 and episode 6 and 9.
Hey, from here on out.
6, 9.
Right. You remember when the drones were a thing for a minute, when they needed to distract us, and then that went away?
Oh, yeah. What happened to the drones?
Well, they just needed to say what's over there. We're like,
Yeah.
what? And they probably passed something happened that we didn't know about.
But again,
It's gone now.
that's why people need to stop being pawns in somebody else's game. They need to focus on the things that improve their life and their family's life and the life of their friends. Because this other stuff, 99.9% of it is bullshit, here today, gone tomorrow, not important, not going to change your life materially. Spend time focusing on the things that actually make a difference in your life and make it better, in your family's life better. And I think that we'd all be better off. That's my 2 cents.
It's true, but it is hard not to get distracted by
Well, it's fun.
it. Right.
It is fun.
It's a little escape.
We all like to be entertained, but just keep in mind that when you're being entertained, you're not improving, and somebody else is. I guess the way that I think about it is, are you intentional about what you're doing when you're being entertained, or is somebody else kind of pulling your strings, And the more we can take back control, the better off we are. It's like when I teach Zeke not to wear shoes that have narrow toe boxes, Society says wear Nikes. It says every shoe you can buy out there is dog shit, right? Except for any shoe that's pliable, can bend, flex, and
I'm a
and
huge
bend.
Croc guy.
Has a wide toe box. Zeke can spread his toes like I spread my fingers. And any shoe that prevents him from being able to do that is only going to serve to harm him in the long run. And that's 99.9% of shoes.
I don't think Crocs have really helped my feet, but I sure do like them.
They have a wide toe box, which is fantastic, but they're still very rigid, and there's a lot of foam. So think about it. And I don't know when the last time you've walked barefoot is. I've tried to make a habit now of anytime I go someplace, and obviously it's hard in the winter, but if I travel somewhere, I like to walk around barefoot. And if we all can recognize how many nerve endings there are in our fingers and how important it is for us to be able to feel things, right? If we didn't have that ability, it would be a huge detriment, right? Well, your feet also have that same ability. But the difference being your feet are always in contact with something unless you're lying on your back, where your hands, really, you only need to utilize those when they're actually in use. So wouldn't it stand to reason that it's more important to be barefoot than it is to have bare hands even? And you certainly wouldn't duct tape your hands. You wouldn't wedge them into something that kept them rigid like this. And that's a big part of what I'm passionate about now too, is foot health. And how do we help people improve their foot health, thus their gait cycle, thus their posture, and then that way we can eliminate.
A long-time passion, right? Foot health and the gait and the
Oh,
posture.
totally. And it's crazy. And like Steve Jobs said, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. And so all these life experiences that I've had have led me down a path of.
So let's go back a little bit. I know you mentioned a little bit while I was hunting down a book, which I never found, by the way.
Okay.
I think somebody took it out of the studio.
Do you have any idea what it was about?
Yeah, it's about a guy who met a prophet, encounter with a prophet.
It's not the story of
That's what it's
Buddha,
called.
is it?
It's called The Encounter of a Prophet. But it kind of aligns Buddhism and Christianity kind of thing, and kind of tells you a little bit more depth about Jesus, what was going on in Jesus' time and stuff like that. Kind of
We got to talk about that because that's a big debate going on right now in podcast land, because this Wes Huff
Jesus
character,
podcasts and stuff.
well, a lot of Christian apologists. And so there was this guy named Billy Carson who's big into aliens, which you were talking about. I'm not too familiar with Billy Carson, but he's on Joe Rogan's podcast all the time.
Yeah.
Well, he went on this discussion with this guy named Wes Huff, who's an apologist and academic who studies these old texts, right?
Tore them apart, right?
Tore them apart. But now
Love Billy Carson.
Now Wes Huff has been on Joe Rogan, and so all the Christians are getting on board saying, yeah, this is it. This is the big breakthrough. But then come to find out that Wes Huff is kind of full of shit too, and he's making stuff up. And all apologists are looking through the lens of, I'm already a Christian. I've got to justify things. It's kind of like a lot of scientific studies. When you've already got to justify something, how objective are you, in terms of evaluating it? So there's a lot of great podcasts out there. One of them is called Myth Vision. One of the guys, Alex O'Connor, he's this dude from Oxford, and he's super intelligent. The guy's 25 years old, and he's out there, and he's debating everyone. He's an atheist. And again, I think that people get so caught up in trying to prove that they're right. That's the focus. Our religion is true. I had this discussion with my aunts and uncles down in Albuquerque while we were driving down to Phoenix. And we're talking about super smart, successful people, but they still just like blindly buy into some of the religious stories. And it was funny because I went to Catholic Mass last Saturday when I was down there, and the sermon, or whatever you want to call it, was all about Jesus's first miracle. I don't know if you're familiar with Jesus's first miracle. You guys familiar at all? This is where he turned the water into wine at a wedding.
Is that the first one?
This was his first one. This was like his coming out party, right? But he even says to his mom, like, woman, don't come at me, woman. I'm not ready. My time has not come, or my hour has not arrived, or whatever. But she must have persuaded him, and he decided that he was going to turn water into wine. But it was 5 or 6 stone jugs, 20 to 30 gallons apiece, it says in the Bible, right? They had to fill these up with water, and then Jesus somehow turns them into wine. And
how long did it take?
Well, that's a great question.
3 to 6 months.
But that's actually that's what's going through my mind while I'm sitting in church is, well, how long did this thing take? Because we don't have running water, right? They got giant stone jugs, right? 20 to 30 gallons at a time. Plus, the guy says, the head waiter or whatever says, this is great wine after he turns it into it. And he says, most people serve the bad wine when everyone's drunk. So we know the timeline had to have been before everyone was able to sober up. Even if you want to say, weddings went on for weeks or whatever at a time back then, the people were drunk. So it was during the period that they were still drunk from the initial wine that they ran out of. So we've got some sort of time frame, but we should recreate that with these giant stone jugs, and we should make somebody fill them up by going and fill up buckets, and then see how long it takes just to fill up the buckets, carry the jugs, I just think
let's do it.
if you timed it out. So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about all these things. And then the priest is saying, he's talking about how Mary, because she's the one that asked Jesus to do this. And I don't really know what he was talking about, but he was alluding to the fact that, she wasn't sure or maybe didn't know if he had this in him. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, this woman allegedly was a virgin, which we got to talk about that. So if anybody would have known that Jesus was something special, it would have been Mary, right? I mean, more than anybody, Mary would have known, right? And that's another thing. Like, a lot of these Christians, and again, I love religion. I love going to church. I love learning about it.
You haven't been in the meditation studio in a while, Pete.
It's all right.
You'll have to come back.
I'm trying to learn from the collective wisdom of the past. And I think that's my point is, instead of trying to argue that your religion is right and another one is wrong, if you've ever seen the movie The Zeitgeist, you ever heard of this? Loose Change, Zeitgeist. It talks about all these other stories that were similar to the Jesus story, the Moses story, all these stories. And all these different cultures had similar stories, right? And I think they believe it's based on the sun and the patterns of the sun and the stars and stuff like that, which makes some sense, right? The idea of it. And I used to think, well, this just totally discredits the Jesus story because the story is a ripoff of an old story, right? But then I thought, well, maybe it doesn't matter who the characters are. It's more important what the message is. It's like, do we really get hung up on arguing whether the tortoise and the hare is a true story, or we just absorb the message, implement it into our lives, and say this makes our lives better by understanding the message, instead of getting hung up in the argument of I'm right, you're wrong. Who does that serve? Right. It doesn't serve anyone. Right. So yeah, that's. But I just think it's funny because a lot of Christians now, because Christianity is on the rise now. With Trump coming in, and you have these people out there who will talk about how absurd it is that people want to claim to be one sex or the other sex or whatever, and their Christian faith, knows better, right? But they don't look at the own absurdity of their own beliefs, that they believe a virgin gave birth to a man,
right? Which
is an absurd belief in and of itself. And then that man ascended into heaven after he was killed. So, like, my absurd beliefs are better than yours because of why?
Yeah, that happens all the time.
I mean, it's. Yeah. I think
my last confrontation with a couple real heavy Christians was when I was selling pictures just a couple weeks ago. And, I had the picture sold, and then I got it all like fixed up and everything, brought it back in. Right before I got the money, they're like, have you given your life to Jesus? I'm like, shit. What do I say?
What did you say?
I said, you know what? I am Buddhist, and I sit in meditation and prayer every morning for an hour. And it seems to have appeased them a little bit. They did give me 3 different pamphlets, So,
you know what I like though?
And we had a nice little conversation about it.
Did you still close the sale?
I did. I closed the sale.
Yeah, but they didn't close the sale, and their sale was more consequential than your sale. But I appreciate the fact that they have the conviction to at least place that, to have that discussion, because I think if you do believe,
it's kind of, they see it as their job.
Yeah, and it is. If you believe that your salvation is what's hanging in the balance, that's a pretty significant belief, and it should be your job first and foremost. I have my own set of beliefs, so like I don't buy into that, but I can
right and
respect the conviction.
I think that many other religions don't have that as their job. The evangelicals for sure, obviously, but like Buddhism, I don't have that as a job to spread the word of Buddhism. Well,
I always thought it's interesting how it's more important that you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior than it is what you do in life. So you could be a child molester, and on your deathbed, you could accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, and you're forgiven.
Yeah.
But you could be my father who committed suicide, was an atheist, and he doesn't have eternal life because and again, I wasn't there when in his last moments, but it just is kind of an absurd thought. Like, you telling me you can touch kids and it all's forgiven. Like, get out of here.
Yeah,
that's
end
just
up in
ridiculous.
Just by saying yes,
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, totally.
And I like what Les Brown said, and he probably stole it from somebody else, but I love Les Brown for the record. But he said, judge a tree by the fruit that it bears, not the fruit that it talks about. And I think that that's more important, How do you carry yourself? How do you treat others? I care more about that. I care more about if you want to live like Jesus, I think that's a fantastic goal, right? But if you want to tell me that it's the way, the truth, and the light, and that's it,
The life.
and or whatever, the life, the light,
Whatever. Right.
but there's no way of proving it. So why do people spend all this time arguing about something that's not provable? You can never prove. You can't prove to me what happens in the afterlife. I'm interested, but to say that you could prove it is absurd. To say that you know definitively that any of that about Jesus is true is absurd, So, why even waste the time? Eat the meat and throw away the bone.
Totally agree. I have the lighting all screwed up. Might have to let's take a little break here. All right, we're back.
Okay, so Matthew 13:12.
Oh,
all
we're
right?
reading Bible verses. Welcome to the Susan Luckey podcast number 3. We're reading Bible verses.
Well, I
today.
think this one's important because this is something that really struck a chord with me, and I think it might strike a chord with other people. But so this Matthew 13:12, it says, "For to the one who has, more will be given, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away." And I don't know where I first heard this Bible verse, and I should probably understand the context a little bit and go back.
Speaking of that Bible verse, let me just jump in. You know what I did for the first time the other day?
What?
Probably not the first time, but first time in a long time. There's a homeless kid that like stands out by the Quick Trip all the time, and I think just a couple days ago, finally, I was getting some chicken, and I'm like, let me grab 2 chickens. So I grabbed 2 chickens, and I just gave him one. He was very excited.
That's very nice.
Nah, I figure what the heck. And I think this meditation practice that I've reestablished is really helping me understand that giving is the ultimate attraction, basically. If you want to, you gain by giving, I feel now.
Totally.
And it might not be like gaining financially or gaining whatever, but man, it feels a lot better to give than it feels to.
Well, and
Take.
what's the point of having money if you can't do nice things for other people? If you can't provide for others. But I think that's what the crux of the issue with the Bible is. It's a way of relaying stories that help people live a life that hopefully is a little bit better, happier, more successful.
That's kind of how I always looked at the Bible. But I do have a problem with people that think that the Bible is verbatim, like this is what happened, and
well, but that's been proven to not be true. But real quick, let me just finish this. It says Matthew 13:10. Then the disciples came and said to him, "Why do you speak to them in parables?" And he answered to them, "To you it has been given to know the secrets of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given. For the one who has, more will be given, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. This is why I speak to them in parables, because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand." So anyways,
translate all that for us. Yeah.
So I used to really struggle with that verse. What does that mean? What does that mean? So I'd go to church and I'd hear these things that didn't sound very Christian at all. Like, if you have, you will have more. If you don't have, even what you do have will be taken from you. It sounds like you have the haves and the have-nots, and that doesn't seem like a very Christian thing, right?
Yeah, that's why teenagers are always upset with their parents.
But when I looked at it through a different lens, it made perfect sense. And this is where our life experience always influences us. And you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking back. But
all sorts of questions have come up with that statement, but keep going.
But my father took his own life, and Robin Williams took his own life. You have people and they suffer from depression.
Huge losses, by the way. Huge losses.
The lens with which that story makes perfect sense is the lens of gratitude. Because for people who have gratitude, even more they will be given to be grateful for. But if you can't have gratitude for what you have, even what you do have, it doesn't matter if it's what Robin Williams had or what my father had, it will never be enough. So it will be taken from you. So through that lens, the story makes perfect sense. And it blew my mind. When I could connect those dots, it blew my mind. So I was able to come back to some of the wisdom in the stories and make it make sense for me. And again, I don't know that other people interpret that the way that I do, but I don't know a more powerful way to interpret that verse and a more true way to interpret that verse. That's why gratitude is probably the most powerful thing that we can do if we want to improve our lives and the lives of others, you know?
Yeah. So how does one practice gratitude?
It's like a muscle.
You
have to build it.
Let's just back up a little bit. You left La Crosse to be a chiropractor, and you went to school in San Francisco, right, for a short time, or for 2 years?
Bay Area, yeah.
To be a chiropractor. And then that was kind of the time that you started talking about gratitude. So you were learning about it and studying it and talking about it. And we never really had a chance to talk about where this came from or
what.
So that's where I started hearing it.
I can tell you exactly where it came from, and this is why it came through a lot of exploration. Okay. My father was like my best friend and my dad. Kevin knew my dad well. I don't know if you ever got a chance to meet my dad. I don't think you did. But when he took his own life, it was like a big mind fuck for me. You know what I'm saying?
I met you in 2016, February 2016.
Well,
when did your dad take your life?
2013, maybe. It was shortly after we opened the gym. So it was. I think it was the following year after we opened the gym.
I think it was the April. It was October. The gym opened. I think in that April.
Yeah.
Right?
So, and this is going to sound weird when I say this, but it honestly was one of the best things that ever happened to me in my entire life. And it doesn't mean that I would wish that upon somebody, but I've developed the attitude to look at it like it was transformative for me in a positive way, because I used to spend a lot of time with him talking about negative things, focusing on the wrong things. Birds of a feather flock together. Negative people reinforce each other's negativity. Mm-hmm. When he left us, it was almost like he released me from that, and I had to face some things on my own. I didn't have my dad to go to, which can be a gift, I think, because then I start looking to other people that had skills and insights that my dad didn't have. He didn't find, and he could have, but we rely on our parents so much to teach us, and that goes for our mindsets, education, movement patterns. Kids are always observing their parents in terms of their movement patterns. That's why you'll see kids that have the same posture as their parents. They walk the same way as their parents, because that's how kids learn. They learn through observing. So by that happening with my father, it
golf swing.
And I would say that I was somebody who suffered from depression. And still on occasion I'll have some down days or whatever. But I started to look for people like Tony Robbins, like Les Brown, like reading Think and Grow Rich, these things.
Is this something that was always with you? This tendency to have depression periodically, or was it because you served in the military? If we take another step back, and then you got out.
I got out in 2000. I'd say I got back from Iraq in 2005. And I think I got out the following year, so 2006.
So you had a good 7-8 years of having negative conversations with your father, right? So
totally. And
so
actually,
that would serve to cause some depression here and there, I would imagine. And
well, but again,
it seems like a cyclical thing.
A lot of people will say it's genetic, right? I think that's bullshit, if I'm being honest. Yeah. If there is a genetic component, it's a small component. Just like I think movement patterns. And again, this is why I'm so excited about getting back into coaching, because there was nothing that I found cooler than being able to bring somebody into CrossFit and teach them to do something they didn't think they had the ability to do. But I knew that I had broken it down into like a frame by frame way of coaching, flipbook animation, if you will, way of coaching. Shout out to the gentleman who wrote the book By the Numbers. And I just sent a link to some guy that I was talking to online, because it was just a great book. It opened my eyes to looking at movement as a frame by frame type of thing. If you can't teach somebody to do something statically, they'll never be able to do it dynamically.
Kevin, who wrote the book By the Numbers?
Is Sean Manso or Mansu is his name.
We'll find out. We'll give him a shout out.
And I don't know if he's still doing CrossFit or coaching CrossFit, but I can tell you his book impacted me tremendously. But then I started learning about like Edward Muybridge. You ever heard of this guy?
I don't think so.
You should Google Edward Muybridge. He actually shot a guy that was having an affair with his wife. But he was turn of the century photography. He had all these still or frame by frame videos of horses running, people running, wrestlers, all kinds of movement. Because at one point there was a debate as to whether the horse had all 4 feet off the ground at the same time, and he developed a way to capture this frame by frame, right? So he could show movement frame by frame. Fascinating stuff. It's just try By the Numbers CrossFit, and I'm sure that will probably By the Numbers CrossFit.
Apparently, lots of books called By the Numbers.
Yeah, math
books.
books.
Authors out there, pick a different book.
Sean Manso or Mansu, Manseau.
Sean Manso.
But it provided, like it said there in the description, it provides a framework for teaching movement. And again, I look at all movement as just learning to hit positions and then blurring the line between pauses.
So you're getting back into
positions.
coaching?
I mean, it'll always be near and dear to my heart. I will at some point. Right now, my focus is more of a financial focus, but like health is wealth. Do you know who Brad Lee is? Like, he's got an awesome podcast, Dropping Bombs with Brad Lee. I mean, this guy's awesome. But he said, you should wake up every morning grateful like you're the richest man on the planet, because he said if someone offered you the opportunity to swap places with Warren Buffett right now, would you do it? Would you do it?
I don't think so, to be honest with you.
Would you do it, Kevin?
Would I switch places with Warren Buffett?
Right now. You could have all his money, but he'd have all your youth.
No.
Okay. So we know that there's something that we all prioritize over money, and that's our well-being, our health. But how come people, so if you have something more valuable than money, why don't you act as if you have something more valuable money? Why don't you wake up with the understanding that you have something more valuable than Warren Buffett? And if you did, wouldn't you be a pretty grateful dude first thing in the morning?
I get to come here in this beautiful meditation studio 7 a.m. every morning.
Totally. The thing with me is that I don't think I had very mature thoughts. So me spending time with my own thoughts, like I had to learn from other people that had accomplished the things that I wanted to accomplish or had some of the things that I wanted to have in my life. And I don't know, I probably could have spent a lot of time meditating and not gotten to some of the answers that I think that I've been able to stumble upon.
You'd be surprised.
You might be right.
Yeah.
You know,
meditation, what it does is the same thing that I think we've had this conversation before, where there's ideas out there and you just have to grab onto the idea. Weren't you the one that kind of we'd talk about these idea panel out there somewhere? And meditation kind of shuts off that ego, that thought process of, you know, or everything that you tell yourself in the back of your head, shuts that down. And you become more available to allowing the universal. I mean, the human brain is an antenna.
I agree.
It's an
It
antenna.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't stuff knowledge into our brain. We adjust that antenna kind of like on a knob in order to allow that knowledge into us. That's how we learn. We adjust that.
I agree, but where does the knowledge come from? Like
It's in the field, man. So
okay,
if you just sit and meditate, you'd be surprised with the stuff that you come up with.
But I also think that's why sharing stories, sharing information is so important, and we live in such a unique time. And that's why even the Bible is so fascinating, because that was the accumulation of knowledge up to that point.
Yeah,
you know?
and a lot of times it's not just going to come to you. Sometimes it does through meditation, but a lot of times meditation opens you to discovering the things that you need to discover at that time. Like there are certain things that that have already been written, already been done, and you're at a moment in a time in your life that you need that through meditation. you open up to that, and then it comes to you. Like this verse that you found in Matthew, that
Yeah, but if
there's
I
a
hadn't
position
been
where
looking or been in church, it would have been a long time before that smacked me, over the head. Um, but I
right,
think
you recognize
meditation
those things. Yeah.
meditation is important. Real quick before we completely move on, what the hell was I gonna say? I just wanted to say, oh, you had asked me how I came to this kind of mindset of gratitude, and again, I like to look at people that universally are pretty well respected, right? Einstein is credited with saying the most important decision you'll ever make is whether you live in a hostile universe or a friendly universe, right? Which means that it's not what happens to you that matters. It's how you perceive or respond to what happens to you that matters. Because
Reframing
we can all look at situations in our life, like my own, where something happened that maybe was a tragedy, or you wouldn't have wanted it to happen, but you can turn it and you can flip the script and you can turn it into a blessing in disguise, right? But that requires intentionality to do that. You have to make the decision to do that, and the decision lies with you, not somebody else. So if I could encourage anybody, I would say try to find something that you think has held you back in life and force yourself to sit down and write out how that could be the best thing that ever happened to you instead of the worst thing that ever happened to you. And then you get to take back control. And it's a very empowering mindset to have. And I don't think
and
there's
it
enough
happens
people.
all day long, like little things all day long. Even tailgating on the way here. What is this showing you? Can we reframe this? Is it trying to make you late, this person in front of you, or are they trying to help you to slow down?
Well, and the more you learn to reframe things, again, it's like building a habit, Bradley, again, he says mindset, skill set, habits, Something doesn't become a habit unless you do it intentionally. You have to have that you have to get to the point of the unconscious competence. You have to go through all the other stages of growth. And that means you have to do it intentionally, like lifting a weight. You have to do it intentionally, but eventually it becomes your default setting. And then you don't have to do it, and you get to put it in the subconscious or the unconscious mind, and it just happens automatically. And gratitude is now your new default setting instead of the victim mindset or woe is me or whatever. And sometimes it helps to be removed from a situation where maybe you're surrounded with other people that reinforce those things. I just heard a gal talking about a study. I think maybe it was a study or whatever. But she said that one of the big indicators of depression is what you focus on. People that are depressed focus on their depression and the things that make them depressed. I mean, just talk to them and they'll tell you how depressed they are and about all the things that are happening that are depressing, instead of focusing on all the things that they have to be grateful for. And again, we have already acknowledged that you have a body that's more valuable than all the money the richest man has in the world, So start there, start there and try to develop a practice of waking up in the morning and saying thank you. I know that for me, being a father has changed my outlook on things a ton, because it's cool when I get to look at him and I get to express gratitude for him. I learn from him all the time, and I'm very conscientious about the things that I'm teaching him all the time. And I want to make sure that I set him up for success. And I don't ever want to say that my dad set me up for failure, but he couldn't have taught me something that he didn't know. If someone didn't teach him. So, there's this whole attack on masculinity, and in the people talk about how masculinity is under fire or whatever. And I just think we veered off of what we used to do. When you probably lived in a tribe, you had warriors who brought their sons, their daughters up, and they taught them how to be self-sufficient, how to provide, how to kill, how to hunt, how to build, all these things that are important. And most people have no clue how to do any of this stuff.
Is Zeke going to be tattooed?
I guess that's going to be his decision.
Tribal tattooed from his dad.
That's going to be his decision. But I would.
You are ready, son. Here's your tattoo.
But wouldn't it be nice if your dad could say with confidence, "You are ready. I'm confident to send you out into the world, and I know
that doesn't happen in our world."
but it can happen in our world. Just because it doesn't mean, and here's the thing, maybe it doesn't happen enough, but it does happen. And the ones that do make it happen, we should learn from. Instead of saying, it just doesn't happen in our world, let's say it does happen, and let's figure out how they're making it happen, and then let's try to propagate that.
So what makes for a successful child or a happy child? Say father is ready to give the old stamp of approval. You are ready.
I think
what's involved with that?
It's hard to say, because it's like we all want to protect our kids from hardship, right? But the hardships that I went through have helped make me the person that I am. So, if I didn't have those hardships, how can I not be grateful for those hardships? And how can I want to prevent him from experiencing hardship in life if I know that it's formative in terms of making you become the man that you need to become? But I think one of the things, number one, I think that, we need to make sure our kids know that they're cared for and loved and provided for. Oftentimes we probably give them way too much, but I like to look at like wrestlers, for example. Like when we've coached wrestlers in the gym or whatever, wrestlers have they have a level of confidence that the general population doesn't have, and a lot of like wrestling parents, they will make sure that their kids would become wrestlers, and they just have an edge, and that edge is a confidence in themselves physically, that they can handle themselves physically. And I think that's one of the things that you can do.
Well, they create a personal drive within them that is important too.
Well, and you're forced to learn and rely on yourself, because no one's coming to save
anybody
you.
Else.
So you get to expose a kid to hardship.
And that creates that confidence.
That's a wrestling match. So you get to control the hardship they're exposed to. It's real hardship. It's physical hardship. It's undeniable. And
more character comes with the more challenge somebody's been in their life. Every time somebody goes through a challenge, it creates more character.
Totally.
And those are the interesting folks, the confident folks, and
so how can you control that hardship or take it in small doses? And I think things like doing hard things, learning to do physical things, wrestling, stuff like that.
What about piano?
Totally. I think piano is a great thing too, because you're not going to accidentally become good at piano. You have to learn to work for it, anytime you can become really good at something, I think it gives you confidence.
A lot of people think that like encouraging somebody to live their dreams is like making somebody soft. I mean, can we encourage somebody to live their dreams and not make them soft?
I think it goes back to kind of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you don't give them the foundation to be able to provide and feel good about themselves first and foremost, by encouraging someone to pursue their dreams, you're actually doing them a disservice, because they don't have the foundation. Once you have the foundation, do anything that you want to do. But if you don't feel like you can provide, this has been something that's been a big struggle for me in life, is like, am I able to provide? Am I providing enough financially? Like that's,
and I think that's bothersome to a lot of people in the world, though. If you say you can't provide by moving forward with what you love and what you dream to do, I think there's a lot of people that can provide through doing what they're passionate about, what they love, even though it might be an art. It's just, I think society has taken away people's ability to provide because it's no longer valued. And that I think is unfortunate, because to be honest with you, that art, that artistic edge or experiences is something that people need to survive. I think as a human being, it's part of us being a human being is that side of us.
Totally.
And taking that away and saying, no, you can't worry about that until you have some semblance of ability to provide for yourself and your family. It's taking away a piece of human. That's my opinion.
Well, and I would agree to some degree. I would agree because, but I will say this: like when I was running the CrossFit gym, I loved what I was doing.
CrossFit La Crosse.
CrossFit La Crosse. I loved what I was doing. I loved feeling like I was really making a difference in people's lives. I loved the fact that I was focusing on health and wellness, at least to the best of my ability at the time. You can only teach somebody what you know. at the time that you know it. And I really felt good about it, but my mind was occupied often with how much money am I making? Am I making enough money? Do I feel like the kind of man that I should be? Because I believe a man has to be able to provide, right? And I can tell you that I had many nights where I wouldn't sleep. I would be up all night thinking about these things. And again, that was part of the time when I was going through my journey in terms of adopting a stronger mindset and learning about gratitude. So I think it really depends upon the individual. If you can feel good about yourself and what you're doing with your time, if you're a creative person and you're an artistic person or whatever, and you really feel like you're making the contribution that you need to make, I mean, that's kind of an internal dialogue you need to have with yourself, because you can present a face to the world, but it's hard for you to lie to yourself, and deep down inside, if you're really doing the things that you need to be doing to be the man that you feel that you need to do, or woman for that matter.
See, I'm on the completely opposite side, because I do something that I, would prefer not to do just to make the money, just to make ends meet or to provide.
Yeah, but that gives you the foundation. That goes back to the hierarchy. And here you are doing creative things, opening businesses, doing meditation, teaching others to meditate, starting a podcast, renovating homes. You do all these things.
If all of that could run my world, I would rely on all of that. Not selling pictures.
Right, but that job that allows you to have the financial stability to go back to, you can go back to that well.
Yeah, but a lot of people are stuck in that. They're stuck in that for the rest. And that's what I feel like I've gotten to the point of I'm stuck doing this job selling pictures that I completely don't like. Sorry, Laz. Well, and I have to do it. And now I'm feeling like, we had two coaches out of six deal with serious brain trauma stuff in the last year. That is eye-opening for a guy my age at 54. Like, holy shit, these young kids are going through this stuff that could completely change their lives or end their lives. And I'm 54 and still doing something I completely hate, selling pictures just to make ends meet. I mean, that's part of the reason this podcast studio is here. Part of the reason the meditation studio is here. I mean, that was Maggie, meditation studios Maggie, podcast studios basically Nick. I mean, that's all set into motion because of these events.
But to Peter's point, that is selling those photos and doing that grind is what set up this. It's what's opened you up to want to do more and be better and take more steps. I mean, I can remember getting out of high school, and the best thing that happened to me is I started working at a factory. And just at that factory, I'm working, at doing screen printing. I was a die cutter at Empire Screen Printing, and just going, man, I don't want to do this. But at the same time, I didn't hate the job. I didn't hate it. It was just, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. So let's go back to school. Let's just start moving forward in a different direction. And, I tell people a lot with school just kind of taught me that I could compete with others, compete with my peers. I could be, it built my confidence. I went to school for criminal justice, so I don't do anything in the criminal justice field now, but it just made me feel like, okay, I can compete with everybody around me. I built my confidence to do other things.
I can see that, like, as far as a confidence builder, or, I'm capable of providing.
Right. Well, and the great thing about this is, even 25 years later, at any moment when I'm just kind of, things are this or things are that, I just think back, Empire Screen Printing or standing in the factory. I go, everything's great. So to have those moments to be able to reach back to, it builds that, so the same thing you're talking about with selling pictures. You can always reach in there and just go, woof, and but you can't have that without doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm to the point where I feel like if I had a clean break from selling pictures, then I'd be like, what have I done? And now I need to, like, okay, we need members of the studio, we need to make podcast every podcast and somehow get that off the ground. And
isn't that sometimes what you need, though? Like, sometimes,
right? That's kind of why I'm like, let's just drop it.
Necessity is the mother of all invention, and comfort is oftentimes to the detriment of that invention. And I've suffered from this myself, where it's like you have a little bit of money saved up, You got just a tiny amount of money coming in, and you can just get complacent. Like I've been complacent a lot. So it's like I'm trying to burn my boats, and it's like if you can have money, but you can have the motivation of being broke. It's like the best of both worlds, and maybe it's a skill set that you have to
Yeah, it would be.
try to work on. But yeah, it's I think that like Vivek Ramaswamy, like him or hate him, one of the things he said when he was running for president was, if you have the right why, you can endure almost any how. And I think that that's the mindset that people have to adopt, especially if they're doing something that maybe isn't the most fulfilling right now, but they have a vision. That's why it's so important. And again, to bring it back to religion, faith is important because you're believing that you can accomplish something tomorrow that you have no evidence that you're going to be able to do it other than the belief that you can do it. So having that belief, casting a vision, and learning how to do that is important, okay? So faith is definitely something that we need to have in order to project a hopeful vision for the future.
Focus on the moment is what I feel like has been helping me too. Like patterns. If I look into like, okay, oh God, I got this, long week of blah, blah, whatever. I just get depressed. I don't feel like doing anything and whatever. But I'm like, okay, just one moment at a time. Get on the meditation cushion for an hour or whatever, and then I'm able to focus one moment at a time. Just keep moving forward step by step. Anything else you want to say about
I got all kinds of
insurance?
things.
I know we're gonna have to like come.
What
do
time?
this
What time
often.
is it? How
It's
long?
11:30. We've
Yeah.
been going, I don't know, an hour and a half or so we can do, but
Well, I like having the three of us here. I think this is good.
and-
This is a
and
good.
Unfortunately, we don't have a camera on Kevin. I tried to get this one going, and then it says you need a card. There's no
I think
card on
Kevin
there.
was meant for this. Like he looks like he belongs over there
I
with the
kind of
headset
like
on.
being the Jamie to the Joe Rogan
Yeah.
experience.
We'll have to teach
You're
you
just
how to
over
use
to the
the
side. I
machine
can get a
over
little
there.
more into this, and
Yeah,
you
you were gonna pull some things up on the computer, and you kind of never did.
Well,
so.
no, and I can do that. This Earth shot is nice, though. I do like.
I
It's
do like
very,
that, yeah. the big blue ball. or
We'll have to
whatever.
talk more about foot health and the gait cycle and posture next
Well,
time.
You know what? As soon as your book comes out, we'll have you back on and discuss the book and learn all about gait health and posture.
Let me just get my ideas out there first before I worry about writing them down. But to your point, some of the best books, most impactful books I've ever read have been like some of those self-published, like kind of like oddball books. One was a book named Live Life Aggressively by a guy named Mike Mahler. He was a kettlebell guy or whatever. Like that at the time was a really impactful book. No one's ever heard of it. Probably never heard of the guy. But another one was was it? It was by a guy named Matthew Grace, and it was about it might have been about escaping MS or escaping depression, but it was about veganism. And again, like I'm not saying that that's the answer, but anytime that you start cutting out a lot of that processed stuff, your body has the chance to heal. And again, it's crazy how these different influences, even some obscure ones, can really be impactful.
Hey, quickly, what are you eating these days?
I had some flaming hot Cheetos yesterday.
That's getting rid of it.
We bought some cinnamon rolls at Cinnabon. My diet hasn't been great. My workouts haven't been great. I'm not in the worst shape of my adult life, but I mean, I'm close. But the thing is, I feel like knowing what I know, I think it'd be hard for me to really get that out of shape, and I feel like I can get back on the horse relatively quickly. But with all the cool new things that I got going on in my life, fitness, it's almost like when you start to snowball and you get stuff done, you get more stuff done. It's like, how am I going to get my workouts in when I'm even busier starting a new insurance business or whatever? But that's exactly the time that you do get the workouts in.
I don't remember who had said it, but you always hire the busiest contractor because it's going to get done. Yeah. If contractor says, I don't have time, and they're fitting you in, that's the one you go with.
What's that philosophy or the idea that work expands to take up the amount of time that's
Right.
allotted for it. So if you need to get something done in a day, you'll get it done in a day, but you could get the same thing done in a year. I think we've all probably been there where you just don't prioritize things and you don't make them happen. And that's why,
Procrastination
again,
works
to
for
your
some
credit,
people.
you've made a lot of things happen. And Kevin and I have talked about it, and like you got a lot of good things going on, and like we're really proud of you. And it's super cool. And you motivate us. It's hard for me to sit on my ass when I'm seeing you renovate houses and build, podcast studios and stuff like that. I mean, don't take this the wrong way, but if Scott Gibson can do it, if I can do something,
I'm
anyone
hoping
can do it.
this like fits my personality the best. I'm hoping it.
Well, this is
the
this
podcasting thing.
I think
works.
we can all agree this would be like the best job on the planet. If you could get paid to do this, where
talk to
you're just
people.
having conversations, you're asking the tough questions.
Yeah, and the thing is with me is I know a little bit about a lot of things. I mean, I'm interested in a lot of things. I'll listen to a lot of things, but becoming a pro at that sort of thing in my brain just doesn't work very well. So I'll bring in all the pros about other things and listen to them talk and ask some questions, and I'll just add a little bit that I might know about it because I'm interested in it, right? So it's like the perfect little setup for me.
And you give people a chance to express what they've spent their time and energy thinking about and getting good at. I think that everyone should be critical. Have a critical mind. Like that's what I've tried to forge with myself, is like always thinking critically and try to think independently.
And I'm not afraid to put a poker and twist it a little bit and find out what makes that belief tick and why. Or hey, did you think about this? Too, to a little bit of history with Kevin and Nick here. Early on, it started at the gym.
Peter.
Huh?
You said Nick.
Kevin and Peter. I'm not
Nick
used to hanging around with Peter here.
Nick's like Peter Light, right?
Little Peter, yeah.
Right.
We love you, Nick.
Anyhow, Peter and Kevin got to experience the gay at the gym, I guess, early on. And so things like Peter's sense of humor, like talking about pretending you're picking up the soap in a prison, or like what would you call it?
Right, prison defense.
Yeah.
Prison defense.
Prison defense.
That had to go. And what was it like? The word cocksucker had to go, I think. Can you say that on YouTube? I don't know.
Hey, I think we can say whatever we want.
Because it's not like there's anything wrong with that.
Right? Exactly.
That's how Scott would always respond to me if that ever got said or said around him, and he goes, "And there's nothing wrong with that."
Though it was good just to it's always good to be considerate of other people, And again, even like with all the things that are going on culturally now with the sexes and it's just when you can be kind, when you can be kind, be considerate, but that extends both ways. This is one of my issues with kind of the culture wars going on, is that people want others to be kind to them and considerate of them, but they don't want to extend that back to other people. So like if a man wants to change in a woman's dressing room, right? Should they have the right to do that? Well, what about all the women that are in there? Don't they have a right to feel a certain way about it? So if you want people to consider your feelings, you have an obligation to consider their feelings. Otherwise, you're just a selfish prick, Yep. So, or like if someone wants to bring their dog on a flight or to the gym or whatever, it's like, okay, you're going to bring your dog to the gym, but you got a bunch of people in here, or kids or something, that are allergic to dogs. Like, I mean, why does your desire to have your dog with you trump everyone else's desire to be without dogs?
I thought you were a dog lover by now.
I
Don't
do.
you have a dog?
Yeah, we got a Frenchie, but there's a time and a place, there's a time and a place for everything. And I'm just saying, like, maybe just think about others. Don't be so absorbed in yourself. Don't be so absorbed with your problems, because I don't think that really lends itself to a positive state of mind anyways, So,
All right. That said, we'll leave it at that. Hey, thanks for joining. Thanks for coming and enjoying and
This is
Tsuzen
great.
Luckey podcast number 3. We'll try to get it is in the can. We'll try to get it edited and online ASAP. It took me 2 weeks with Tony's because I was so busy. I was like, I need to take the day off. Do it up. So that episode 2 will be out soon.
Wonderful. I can't wait. This is awesome.
Again, Peter Olson, Kevin Reynolds. I'm Tsuzen Luckey.
Thank you.
Have a great day. All right. That was funny.